good morning to you and get started because although I have practiced, believe it or not, what I want to say, I have no idea what's about to come out of my mouth, so I have no idea how long it's going to take. So my name is Donna Fournier, and 2 months ago I spoke to Peter that I had a very little story to share. And since then, two things have dawned on me. First of all is, what in the hell was I thinking? I certainly already have enough stress in my life. And the second piece was, nobody knows who I am. So as people come in, I'm going to start babbling a little bit about myself, and perhaps one or two of you have encountered me in the hallway. First of all, I'm probably the oldest living thing in this building. I own that hot yellow Mercedes that's in the parking lot. Well, actually, it's the third cousin, twice removed by marriage, and it's called a smart car. Now, but it is made by Mercedes. Are you ready for this one? I've traded my WRX for it because you people always looked strangely disappointed when I emerged from the WRX. And if you've ever ridden in one, there's like side racks on the side of the seat, so it's very difficult to get out of that car and still look cool by the time you're finished. I know this about myself. I know that I need Vermont green. I need music. I need tons of books. And I need laughter. But then, don't we all? If I survive until 2017, because old people have a tendency to drop dead, I will have worked in education for 50 years. Yeah, wow. I've taught elementary, junior high, high school, college, and adults. And I'm not sure I should say this in a room of high school students, but my favorite students are adult refugees and fifth graders. Now, a fifth grader is still cool about learning, and he has a wicked sense of humor. I cannot tell you the number of jokes or tricks or water fights or whatever we used to pull on each other. In fact, one day a kid shouted out, "Hey, Mrs. Fournier, how come you always stop and tell a joke in the middle class?" And I'm thinking, oh my God, do I confess that I get bored really easily? Or what do I say? And from the back of the room, Caleb is flagging in 747s and saying, I know the answer. And I'm going, oh, thank goodness. And I call on Caleb, and he explains that when you tell jokes in class, everybody wants to hear them, because if they're not paying attention, they miss the punchline. I went, yeah, that's why I do it. Laughter is so important. A few years ago, I had the opportunity to listen to a Japanese oncologist who spoke at Middlebury College, and he shared his experiment. At that time in Japan, you didn't even say the word cancer. You didn't talk about it. And to be a part of his program, you had to agree to several things. One was to share your expertise, because we're all good at something. Secondly, you had to make things happen that were important to you. He explained he took a group hiking in the Alps because they always wanted to do that. One man was so critically ill, he was on life support, and a ventilator was breathing for him. But they got him to that baseball game he always wanted to see. And the third part that he spent the most time talking about was the use of humor. And to be in that program, you had to agree to use humor for hours a week. You had to tell jokes, listen to funny stories, watch video clips, whatever it took. And the interesting thing, by the end, and many of them died, every single person said that was the most meaningful time in their lives. So we know that laughter heals the soul. And now, in the world that we live in, with so much conflict and lies, and people being just so uncivil to each other, we need humor more than ever. But I caution you, because laughter is all about prepositions. We must laugh with others, but at ourselves. And you cannot interchange those prepositions. Does that make sense? You have to keep it in that order. So, if I don't screw it up, the little story that I'm about to share with you is true. It happened to my daughter. She lived years ago in Maine and worked in Maine. And it was during her lunch hour. And she stood in a very crowded drugstore, and as she's in line, it dawns on her that there are a lot of businessmen also in line. And because this is an old story, they were all wearing suits. So as she progressed forward, she discreetly put her box of tampons down by her side. And she just had the feeling that something was going to go a little off. So as she got up there, she handed the box to the clerk. The clerk scans them. Nothing. Clerk scans them again. Still nothing. So Alicia, by this time, is looking for a hole to hide it, because she knows that this is going to go south very quickly. The third time, the clerk scans them, and still it hasn't read the price. The clerk grabs the mic, pulls it forward, and in a very loud voice that echoes throughout the store says, "Hey, Harry, how much are the Tampax?" Now, from the back of the room comes Harry. Harry walks very slowly. Harry might be a little hard of hearing. He certainly can't see well. And he looks over his glasses and in an equally booming voice says, "Are they the kind you push in with your thumb, or do you need a hammer to pound them in with?" "Harry, I said Tampax, not thumbtacks." And all hell broke loose in that store. So the message that I want to leave you with, in addition to the fact that this light is amazingly bright, and I find myself wanting to confess repeatedly, is the idea that humor is so important, because with humor in our lives, it becomes much harder to fight, to lie to somebody, to be uncivil, when you've just laughed with them. So my wish for you, in addition to my prayer of thanks that I have survived, is that you find humor in your lives and you laugh with each other, because we need that so desperately. Thank you.